Part 28. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 271. The young man heard what Wen Gang said and looked at Li Qing again. Bah, birds of a feather, ex-separatists. Yu Crow saw someone disrespecting his elder brother and was about to step forward. But he was stopped by Li Qing, and came to the young man with interest. Do you have a problem with Hong Kong people? No problem, I just have a problem with traitors. Well, what a coincidence, me too, Li Qing said with a smile. Li Qing's words made the young man stunned for a moment, and then he smiled. Hello, my name is Gao Jin, from Sichuan, China. Hello, my name is Li Qing, from Hong Kong, China. Gao Jin heard Li Qing's words, and his face showed joy. In his heart, people who admit this must be like-minded people. Not far away, Wen Gang looked at the two people greeting each other in disbelief, his heart sank, and he stepped back, his eyes wandering to find an escape route. Help him untie it. Okay, big brother. Immediately, a younger brother ran back to the car to get tools. After all, it was wire. It would be difficult to do it without tools. This Gao Jin was also very brave. He didn't make a sound during the whole process. You know, the wire has penetrated deep into the flesh. It is inevitable to touch the wound when taking it out. Thank you. Gao Jin gently stroked his wrist and clasped his fists. Li Qing saw that his movements were standard and couldn't help asking, A martial artist? Gao Jin nodded, I've learned a few moves. Then how did you get knocked down? Li Qing was also curious about this process. A trace of embarrassment flashed across Gao Jin's face. Ahem, I was drunk and made trouble. Oh, I'm a fellow traveler. Crow exclaimed. Everyone. Run? Where are you running to? Wen just wanted to take advantage of the conversation and run to the direction of his car not far away. But he was discovered by the younger brother of New World, who dragged him back by the collar. Li Qing smiled at Gao Jin, he's yours. Gao Jin smiled and thanked him, and walked towards Wen Gang. Gao Jin, what do you want to do? I took you in, you don't even have an ID card, I took you in. Wen Gang kept backing away. Damn, do you dare to say that I wasn't deceived by you? Gao Jin clenched his fists hard. Most of the Chinese in the rubber plantation were deceived by this bastard in the name of high salary. Gao Jin didn't give him a chance to beg for mercy, and directly hit Wen Gang on the head with a double peak. Then he crossed his hands, and with a click, he directly broke Wen Gang's neck. Clean and neat. Are you interested? Follow me. Li Qing threw him a cigarette. Gao Jin reached out to take it, looked around. Boss, do I have any choice? Gao Jin was very smart. Now he would be caught by the police if he went out without an ID card. He couldn't even think about repatriation. Maybe he would be sold to another rubber plantation by the police. It seems that Li Qing is also a big boss. If I follow him, I will not have to worry about food and drink. Maybe I can save enough money to marry a wife in 2 years. Okay, Gao Jin answered very straightforwardly. Oh? So decisive? We are making money in a side business. Li Qing took a deep puff of cigarette. Gao Jin looked at the younger brother behind Li Qing, his waist was bulging. These days, making money honestly abroad will starve to death. Not bad, I admire you very much, Li Qing nodded at Gao Jin. Gao Jin's face was happy, and he walked to Li Qing respectfully and bowed slightly. Brother. Li Qing smiled and looked at the entry above Gao Jin's head showing loyalty value 80%, and smiled. Okay, from now on you are Gao Jin in the new world. Gao Jin is indeed much more capable than the silly boy eating. The main reason is that Gao Jin is not an ungrateful person. In the movie of The Last Life, it seems that he was also trying to repay a favor, and was strangled to death by a tie in the end. Well, I have to tell him when I have time that he must not wear a tie when wearing a suit. Let's go. You are the most familiar with the situation here. Take us around. Through communication, it was discovered that Gao Jin had participated in the Vietnam War, which made Li Qing feel like he had found a treasure. As for Wen Gang's body, this is a rubber plantation. I believe that the rubber trees will be more prosperous next year. These days, Li Qing took his brothers to see all the rubber plantations he acquired. The scale is large and the quality of the rubber is very high. The next step is to build the factory. Li Qing plans to ask De Hu and Ergo to come after returning to Hong Kong to build the factory and put it into operation in a short time. Sai was very concerned about the Buddha's head, but he never found it, especially the fellow villager of Aiding, who seemed to have evaporated from the face of the earth. There was no trace of the whole person, so the clue was directly broken. Li Qing only remembered that the Buddha's head seemed to be found in the sea in the end, and he had no impression of where it was. Due to time constraints, he had to entrust Sai to take care of Aiding and continue to help him find the Buddha's head. Li Qing and his brothers rushed back to Hong Kong overnight because July 1st was about to arrive. As soon as Li Qing returned to the villa, a koala hugged her and refused to let go. Huh? Why are you back today? Li Qing patted Chen Shooting's little face and asked. He supported her again, and the little girl seemed to be heavier than last time. The school is on vacation, and I heard from Sister Hongsheng that you are coming back today, so I just came back. Chen Shooting buried herself in Li Qing's neck and kissed her deeply. Li Qing also hugged her to the sofa and suddenly remembered the English notebook. By the way, Shooting, can you help me see what it says? Chen Shooting took the notebook curiously, and started to read it without putting it down. At first, her expression was very relaxed, and she muttered, "It's just some investment projects. I haven't studied some of the majors." Until she turned to the next few pages, her expression began to become solemn. "Brother Qing, the back is about the Thai financial crisis, and some Thai investment plans. It involves tourism, retail marketing, auto parts production." Li Qing squinted his eyes and listened. He didn't expect that Smith Company had the same idea as him, but the industry involved was more comprehensive than his, and it even predicted that Thailand's automobile production would be the next new growth point. Professional. Li Qing could only admit that Wall Street investment companies had a sharp eye. Ah! Chen Shooting's exclamation woke Li Qing, who was thinking deeply. What's wrong? Brother Qing, you see, this involves the direction of the Thai financial crisis. Hot money has begun a new round of actions against Java, Malaysia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam, and other countries. Chen Shooting opened her eyes wide in surprise and continued, there are more to come. Hong Kong is their next target, followed by Japan, South Korea, and Russia. They want to sweep away all the wealth in East Asia. Li Qing listened to it expressionlessly. He knew all of this. Are there any methods or anything like that? Chen Shooting looked at the notebook again and shook his head. There was too little useful information in it. There were only a few arrows, words, and country names. Li Qing thought to himself, it seems that this notebook is specially used by Smith to strengthen his memory. No, this notebook must be given to Mr. Huo. Li Qing did not dare to delay. He knew that SARS attacked the Hong Kong financial system after the return, but he forgot the specific time. After all, he was still young at that time and only heard others mention it. Immediately call Zhang Dongziu, drive over and go to Mr. Huo's house. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 272. Of course, he asked Chen Shooting to make a copy of both useful and useless things in that notebook. When Zhang Dongziu drove to pick him up, he finished copying. Dongziu, drive faster, Li Qing ordered. Zhang Dongziu nodded, He also knew that this time things might be extraordinary, otherwise the eldest brother would not rush to Huo's manor so late. On the way, Li Qing talked on the phone with Mr. Huo Dong and briefly explained the situation. The car was speeding on the mountain road. Fortunately, it was late at night and there was almost no traffic on the mountain road. We soon arrived at Huo's manor. At this time, Mr. Huo Dong was already waiting in the living room. When he saw Li Qing coming in, his eyes lit up. Haha, let me see what it is that can make little friend Li Qing rush here non-stop. Li Qing didn't hesitate, he handed over the notebook directly and said with a smile, "It's also a coincidence." The notebook came from an agent of a Wall Street investment company. Huo Dong took the notebook, put on his glasses, sat on the sofa and read it carefully, nodding from time to time, until he saw the last page with a stunned expression, and raised his head to glance at Li Qing. Li Qing nodded, and Huo Dong continued to read. 5 minutes later, he raised his head again, took off his reading glasses, and let out a long breath. "Little friend, is this news really true? As it concerns the whole of Xiangjiang, Huo Dong must confirm the authenticity of the notebook." Li Qing was silent for a moment. "Mr. Huo, considering the financial crisis in Thailand, I think 70% should be true. If there is no rush, we can wait and see whether the Southeast Asian financial crisis will break out." Li Qing combined some information from his previous life and believed that international hot money would not let go of other Southeast Asian countries. "No wonder, a year ago I discovered that someone was hoarding a large amount of Hong Kong dollars. It turned out that they were preparing to destroy Hong Kong's finance." Huo Dong sighed. The people behind it were so far-sighted that they actually started planning a year in advance. It seemed that the Southeast Asian financial crisis was no accident. Li Qing heard this and nodded. "This is a very serious matter, little friend, please go back first. If you are sure that the information in the notebook is true, all of Hong Kong will thank you." Huo Dong patted the notebook in his hand and said. Li Qing stood up and said with a smile, "I am honored to contribute my own strength to Xiangjiang and the country." Huo Dong's mind flashed, and his evaluation of Li Qing was even higher. At 8 o'clock in the evening, somewhere in the South China Sea, on a Chinese ship, the officers and soldiers were holding a squad meeting as usual. Suddenly, a hurried voice sounded from the radio in the command room: "Emergency preparations for war and flight preparations. This is not a drill. Emergency preparations for war preparations and flight preparations." The officers and soldiers on the ship quickly returned to their posts without any hesitation, and then the radio came out: "All shells are loaded and entering the first level of combat readiness. All soldiers know what this means and the next step is to fire on the target." The originally calm South China Sea suddenly became turbulent. It turned out that radar discovered fleets of other countries on the sea. It turns out that as early as a few months ago, Sunset Country dispatched an aircraft carrier formation for a nominal friendly visit. But everyone knows that the friendly visit of the Sunset Kingdom fleet is fake, and the deterrence by force is real. This time, Sunset's mixed fleet openly sailed into the periphery of the South China Sea of the motherland, which is a huge provocation. The highest level has issued an order, and in the face of provocation, anyone who dares to come will be beaten to death with a hammer. News of the confrontation between the warships of the motherland and the warships of the Sunset Country in the South China Sea spread through the media. All people in Xiangjiang began to pay attention to this incident. This is a conflict between the two countries, and war may break out. Li Qing is also very concerned about this incident. He has no memory of this incident, but what is certain is that the country won. What made him unhappy was that the banana people started causing trouble again, advocating that the Sunset Congress use force to prevent the deadline from coming. For a time, people's hearts fluctuated. Li Qing frowned and looked at the newspapers. Basically, the magazines controlled by Sunset Capital were slandering China and advocating Sunset Country. Qiandan, Find someone to burn down these newspaper offices. Li Qing picked the ones that danced the most happily. Say hello to these newspaper offices and tell them to sit upright. Li Qing picked up a few more newspapers. He firmly believed that the country would win this confrontation. The next day, magazines advocating for the Sunset Country were beaten, smashed, and burned by unknown persons. Several magazine owners also received blood-stained bullet warnings. For a time, the inappropriate remarks disappeared, and everyone who was well informed knew that someone must have taken action. The confrontation between the warships lasted for 3 days. The most critical moment was when the Chinese warships rammed into the Chinese warships in order to stop the sun never setting. The Sunset Country's warships hurriedly took refuge and were forced to withdraw from the South China Sea, thus avoiding the escalation of the conflict. Otherwise, the war may really break out, and in the end, the Sunset Kingdom fleet will have no choice but to escape from the South China Sea in despair. The actions of the Chinese warships let the world know the determination of the Chinese people to regain their lost territory. Sunset Kingdom does not dare to make any more small moves on this matter. On the afternoon of June 30th, Li Qing watched the People's JF Army wearing grass-green military uniforms enter the harbor. He vaguely remembered wearing a small military uniform like this when he was a child, hanging a toy gun as a sentinel all day long. He didn't expect to see history repeat itself again, but the passion in his heart never changed. To use a famous internet language to describe it, it is, drinking ice for 10 years will hardly cool your hot blood. The education he received in his bones made him stick to the bottom line. Even if he was a scum, he was a scum of China. Li Qing took a deep breath. Qian Dan, spread the word that no one is allowed to make trouble today. Zhang Qian Dan nodded and walked out. What surprised Li Qing was that he was invited to attend the handover ceremony in the evening. You should know that those who were invited to attend were all famous wealthy people in Hong Kong. In fact, Li Qing was able to attend because of the instructions of senior leaders, especially the Bahongyiu Tower incident, the Jingguo Shenkei incident, and the important information about the financial crisis sent this time, all made the other side feel Li Qing's goodwill. Inviting Li Qing to participate also shows China's attitude. China welcomes patriots. It can be regarded as buying a horse bone with a lot of money. In the evening, Li Qing attended the handover ceremony in formal attire and met several top wealthy people such as Mr. Huo Dong, as well as other gentry and celebrities. Basically, those invited to participate were recognized by China. They were a little curious when they saw Li Qing. They didn't expect that a big boss of a society would be invited. They even suspected that Li Qing was an underground worker sent by the other side in advance. Only Mr. Huo Dong looked happy and shook Li Qing's hand. "My friend, I knew you would come." The two began to chat about family matters. "My friend, look, the one with the sullen face is the Prince of Sunset Country, the two crying little girls are the daughters of the governor, and who is?" They didn't stop talking until the ceremony officially began. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 273. On the evening of June 30, 1997, at 23 hours 42 minutes and 20 seconds, the handover ceremony of Hong Kong's political power officially began. The British royal representative gave a speech. Li Qing looked at the time on the invitation letter and saw that the speech was 6 minutes long. Li Qing frowned. According to his inference, the royal representative had obviously exceeded the time limit. The MC behind him spoke faster, and even the pace of the honor guard also accelerated. It was obvious that they were racing for time. Now lower the flag of the United Kingdom and the Hong Kong flag, and raise the flag of the People's Republic of China and the flag of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. A ridiculous scene appeared. The conductor of the British military band was in a hurry. The 50-second British national anthem was played in just over 30 seconds. It was unclear whether the British did it on purpose, but Li Qing was inclined to believe that they were shocked by the Chinese military honor guard. All the people at the scene seemed to be frozen, waiting motionlessly for 22 seconds. Finally, after a long time, the Chinese national anthem sounded. "Rise up, people who don't want to be slaves, put." Li Qing looked at the rising red flag, and couldn't help but sing the national anthem in his heart, which he hadn't sung for a long time, and a sense of pride arose spontaneously. Off the field. "I am taking over the barracks on behalf of the Chinese People's JFJ troops stationed in Xiangjiang. You can leave, and we will take over. I wish you a safe journey." He was a tough soldier without anger, and his domineering aura was exposed. Compared with him, the British generals opposite him were a world away. All Chinese people felt their blood boiling when they heard this, and the century-old shame of China disappeared at this moment. The royal family and senior officials of the empire on which the sun never sets were like bereaved parents. Li Qing looked at it with disdain. "It was originally our place, we just took it back. Who are you doing this for?" Although there were some minor episodes in the handover ceremony, it was harmless and the handover was completed smoothly. From this moment on, Hong Kong returned to the embrace of the motherland. From this moment on, Hong Kong had a new name, China Hong Kong. Li Qing felt very lucky to witness this moment in person. The next day, Li Qing, who was sleeping, was awakened by a call from Huo Dong, who invited him to the Huo's manor for a gathering. Li Qing did not delay and asked Zhang Dongzhou to send him to the Huo's manor. "Haha, it's a sin to disturb your good dream." Huo Dong looked at Li Qing and joked. Then he said, "Young people, it's understandable to sleep more." Li Qing didn't care, and sat directly at the tea table, picked up the teacup and tasted the tea. Huo Dong saw that Li Qing was so patient, smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Aren't you curious? Why did I ask you to come?" "Not curious," Li Qing said while drinking tea. According to Li Qing's analysis in the car when he came, there are several possibilities for him to come. One is related to the notebook, the second is related to himself, the third is related to both himself and the notebook. Huo Dong smiled and nodded at Li Qing. "You are so young, why don't you panic when you encounter something?" Compared to him, his descendants are indeed inferior. "Okay, I won't sell the lawsuit. After researching over there, the information in the notebook is credible. International hot money led by Soros has already taken action in Southeast Asia," Huo Dong said in a deep voice. Li Qing's eyes lit up. As expected, Soros would not let go of those wealth. Now the currencies of Java, the Philippines, Malaysia, and other places have begun to depreciate, echoing Soros's usual short-selling tactics. It is estimated that the financial systems of these countries will collapse soon. Huo Dong shook his head regretfully. The wealth of these countries for decades will be plundered, and the people's living standards will at least regress by 10 years. On the contrary, Li Qing was thinking about sending a professional team to acquire high-quality resources as soon as possible, otherwise he could only eat some leftovers. "Huh? Little friend?" "Little friend," Huo Dong tilted his head and looked at Li Qing, who was distracted. "Mr. Huo, what do you say?" Li Qing came back to his senses. "This time I asked you to come here mainly to tell you good news," Huo Dong said with a smile. "Oh? Good news. They said that they know what you have done for the country. You are welcome to invest and do business in the mainland." Huo Dong looked at Li Qing with a smile. He knew the weight of this sentence. Li Qing was stunned for a moment, and a look of joy appeared on his face. He understood the meaning of this sentence. The upper level allowed him to do legal business in the mainland. He would not be restricted because of his identity, which meant that the upper level had completely accepted him. Unlike the Zhangsheng family in the previous life, although they whitewashed through industry, they would never be able to enter the eyes of the big men. As long as he did not do anything that harmed the country in the future, the upper level would not care about what he had done before, and the meaning of winning over in the words was obvious. "Thank you so much, Mr. Huo." Li Qing toasted Huo Dong with tea instead of wine. Huo Dong was also very happy with such a result. After all, they shared the same ideals and this young friend was very suitable for his temper. "If you have the opportunity, make more contributions to the country," Huo Dong said with a smile. Li Qing nodded solemnly, "Yes." 2 days later, New World headquarters in Mongkok. "Qian Dan, you take your team to Java to acquire high-quality industries, especially minerals, rubber, and other industries with low costs but high returns. De Hu, Ergo, you two go to Thailand, contact Sayer there, and build the factory as soon as possible. Dongziu, take the team to the Philippines." Li Qing knocked his head and thought for a while. "The tourism prospects there are good, and you can invest in the hotel industry. AO, Malaysia depends on you, you are more familiar with it. Of course, these people have to take the New World professional team with them. After all, they are all rough guys. It's okay to let them chop people, but investment is a delicate job that needs others to do." At this time, Crow pointed at himself unhappily. "Brother, what should I do?" Li Qing glanced at Crow. You go with me to Hejiang to attend the party." "Well, okay. I like to attend parties the most. There are so many beautiful ladies there." Zhang Dongzhou and others looked at Crow with contempt. This guy never stopped talking about women. Li Qing waved his hand tiredly, and a group of younger brothers walked out of the office. On the way, Zhang Qiandan nudged Crow with his shoulder. "Hey, Crow, I heard that you slept with a ladyboy." After hearing this, a group of people slowed down their pace and stood up their ears. This is big news. Crow dared to sleep with a ladyboy. He really didn't care about the stranger. Crow turned his head and looked at Zhang Dongzhou in disbelief. "Dog show, you actually betrayed me." Among the people who followed the eldest brother to Thailand, except Zhang Dongzhou, no one dared to gossip about him. Crow was very sure that it must be this bastard who said it. When everyone saw that Crow had admitted it in a roundabout way, they all looked at him with horror. He himself found out that something was wrong. "No, don't get me wrong, I didn't sleep with her, I just hugged her and took pictures." Hey, don't go, listen to me." Crow looked at his colleagues who were moving away from him one after another with tears in his eyes, and shouted in grief and anger. Only Zhang Qiandan came to Crow with regret and patted his shoulder. "Alas, at least I was playing with women, although I was a little old." "What do you think, alas?" After saying that, he shook his head and walked away. "Zhang Dongzhou, you bastard, I want to fight you in a one-on-one duel." Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 274. "Xiaomin, didn't you say it was a party? How did it become a jewelry exhibition?" Looking at the invitation letter that said European Jewelry Exhibition, Li Qing asked curiously. "He-min was putting on makeup at the dressing table. I was originally planning to attend the party, but this is not an old customer of the casino who wanted me to help stand in the scene, so I had to change it temporarily. Originally, this exhibition was planned to be held in Hong Kong, but it was not convenient to change it to Hejiang because Hong Kong was returned to China. By the way, Brother Qing, there are also jade earrings that Sixi wore in the past." Li Qing took the invitation letter and looked at it. He didn't think anything of it. He went, anyway. He was accompanying his woman. "Ah Jin, you look very handsome in a suit." Zhang Dongzhou went to the Philippines, and Gao Jin temporarily served as Li Qing's bodyguard and driver. "Haha, really? Brother, I'm not used to wearing it just now." Gao Jin scratched his head and laughed. Li Qing frowned, glanced at his tie, and went up to help him take off the tie. Patting Gao Jin's side, "Ah Jin, stylish people never wear ties when they wear suits." The crow next to him, who was wearing a bright red suit, quietly took off his tie and threw it aside. Li Qing looked at the crow with amusement. "You don't need it?" Crow. "The jewelry exhibition is not far from the villa, and it takes about 20 minutes to get there." Li Qing and others came relatively late, and there were already many people waiting in line to enter. "Miss He, you are here." The organizer of the exhibition saw Li Qing and others and hurriedly came to greet them. He had put a lot of effort in inviting Miss He. If it weren't for her old customer, he wouldn't have been able to talk to her at all. He Min nodded gently, said hello, and was about to take Li Qing to see Sixie's jade earrings. Li Qing looked around and found that the surrounding layout was somewhat familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it. Gao Jin followed Li Qing closely, his eyes alert to the surroundings. Crow staggered behind his eldest brother Li Qing, talking to him from time to time. "Have you heard? This time it's mainly the jewelry exhibition of Tsar Nicholas II. The king's crown, queen's crown, and diamond necklace are the most precious. Wow, the organizers are so powerful, aren't they afraid of being stolen?" "You're crazy, one of the organizers is nice security system, which can't be blown up by bombs." Li Qing's ears moved. "Tsar Nicholas II. Brother, do you know him?" Crow came close to him and asked quietly. "Now that the venomous Zhang Dongxiu is gone, there is no one to choke him. Read more when you have time." Li Qing was silent for a moment and said, "It was not until I saw the singing god who often said shit on you in my previous life at the exhibition. I suddenly remembered the Hong Kong movie Dragon's Edge." "It can't be such a coincidence," Li Qing muttered softly. "Crow, do you have a gun?" Li Qing turned around and asked. He Min beside him was also a little confused by Li Qing's words. "Aren't you here to see the jewelry exhibition? It's not an arms exhibition, why do you need a gun?" Crow was stunned for a moment, then took out a gun. "Brother, who are you going to kill?" Sure enough, although Crow is sometimes unreliable, the habit of carrying a gun is still quite good. "It's okay, notify the brothers in Hejiang to bring their weapons to the hotel, I think something is going to happen." Li Qing smiled and took him in to continue looking at jewelry. "Wow, Brother Qing, look, this is Sixie's jadeite," he Min said as he looked at the jadeite earrings in the bulletproof glass. "Like it? I'll buy it for you after the exhibition." "Don't make a fuss, these are other people's exhibits, not for sale," he Min said with a smile. At this time, two Mercedes-Benz vans came downstairs of the jewelry exhibition and parked at the entrance of the underground parking lot. Immediately, a security guard came out to ask, "Hey, what are you doing? Outsiders are not allowed to park here." A young man came up with a gift box in his hand, smiling, "Send a gift." Piu piu, the bullet passed through the silencer and instantly shot through the security guard's body. The security guard in the security room just made a move and was solved by this group of well-trained people. Then the security guards in the hall were also quickly dealt with. It seemed that this group of people were not ordinary gangsters. Upstairs, Li Qing and He Min were strolling around the jewelry exhibition. He Min was strolling, while Li Qing's eyes were searching everywhere, as if he was looking for someone. He could no longer remember the appearance of the doctor, so he could only rely on the vague memory in his impression to find him. Not far away, the two looked at the Tsar's crown. "Hey, what are you looking at? What's so good about it? If you keep looking, I'll punch you to death." The voice of the four-eyed boy caught Li Qing's attention. "That person looks like Xiamiao." Li Qing immediately understood that the person opposite who looked like Xiamiao should be the doctor. "Crow, bring that person over," Li Qing said with a wicked smile. Now that he knew the mastermind behind the scenes, he would find him to come over and talk. He didn't expect that attending a jewelry exhibition would bring unexpected gains. Crow identified the person opposite, took out his gun and loaded it, and slowly walked towards the doctor. The doctor was following the crowd, admiring the jewelry everywhere, and observing the people who came to the jewelry exhibition. The people who came were either rich or noble, all of them were wealthy people from both sides of the Taiwan Strait and Hong Kong, and they came out with their wives and mistresses to have fun. "Don't move, or I'll shoot you," Crow said with a pistol against the back of the doctor. The doctor was shocked, looked back at Crow, and nodded. The Crow pushed him to Li Qing's side, and Li Qing looked up and said, "Please sit down." The doctor felt a stab in his waist and ribs, and he fell to the ground in pain. People must rely on themselves. Hearing this famous saying, the doctor opened his eyes wide in surprise and looked at the young man opposite. "Who are you? Do we have any festivals?" Li Qing chuckled and said, "No festivals, but we will have festivals after today. I can only say that you are unlucky. In fact, I didn't want to participate in this jewelry exhibition." Li Qing blinked and smiled. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." "I'm just an ordinary jeweler," the doctor said calmly without changing his expression. "Oh? Okay, no hurry. Let's wait together." Not long after, a burst of gunfire was heard downstairs. The people upstairs heard it and fled in panic. He Min heard the gunfire and grabbed Li Qing's arm nervously. "Xiao Min, sit behind me," Li Qing said softly. A group of people wearing camouflage uniforms and sunglasses pushed the door open and rushed in, firing several shots at the ceiling. This immediately caused panic in the entire exhibition, and people were so scared that they squatted on the ground with their heads covered. "Hey, we are here to get money, not to harm, eh? Huh." The leader took off his sunglasses in disbelief and saw the doctor sitting on the ground with his hands on his waist and ribs, and a young man sitting next to him. The key point is that the doctor also had a gun pointed at his head. "What's going on?" Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 275. Rabbit looked at the doctor sitting on the ground in surprise, stunned for a moment, but immediately reacted. He quickly picked up the gun in his hand and pointed it at Li Qing and others. "Who are you? Let the doctor go." Rabbit was also muttering in his heart at this time, not knowing what went wrong. The identity of the doctor has always been mysterious. The previous crimes were also committed abroad. How could it be exposed suddenly? The doctor sitting on the ground also rolled his eyes. The other party may not have confirmed that he was the doctor just now. Now after Rabbit's coquettish operation, the other party must know. Li Qing smiled and said nothing. "Who do you care who we are? Now your boss is in my hands." Crow pointed the gun at the doctor's head. "Everyone, if you have anything to say, you can sit down and talk. Why bother with knives and guns?" The doctor spread his hands and said. "It's all about seeking money. Rabbit asked people to find a way to open the 3 rare treasures of the Tsar and give them to this big guy as a gift." Doctor said generously. Facing the cold gun barrel, he chose to stabilize the other party temporarily. Rabbit nodded and immediately arranged for an Indian computer expert to crack the security system. The doctor was about to stand up, but was kicked by Crow in the knee and fell to the ground again. Bang! Crow fired a shot at the ceiling. "If you move again, I'll blow your head off." The sound of the gun startled the guests squatting on the ground and made them scream. Some of the sharp-eyed rich people recognized that the person sitting on the chair seemed to be Li Qing, the boss of the New World, and felt relieved. At this time, Long Wei's eyes turned and he slowly moved in the direction of Li Qing. Li Qing also noticed his movements and looked at him with amusement. "Hey, are you Long Wei? I heard you are good at fighting." Long Wei imitated Bruce Lee's kung fu style and knew a few Jeet Kune Do moves. "Have you heard of me too? Do you want an autograph?" Long Wei said excitedly. "Someone will come to fight with you later, so you should save some energy." After saying that, Li Qing ignored him. In fact, Li Qing wanted Li Ji, who had participated in the Vietnam War and had a lot of experience in jungle warfare. If he could take the opportunity to subdue Li Ji and train him in jungle warfare, the combat effectiveness of his men would soar. After all, some of his younger brothers are now scattered in the rubber plantations he bought and are doing some security work. What's going on? Haven't you done it yet? Sang Biao pushed the door open. Sang Biao, who walked in, was obviously much more burly than Rabbit, and saw the doctor slumped on the ground when he entered the door. What's the situation? The situation is the situation, and I don't know what the specific situation is. Rabbit spread his hands helplessly. Sang Biao was confused when he heard this. What is the situation? Suddenly Sang Biao's eyes lit up and saw Long Wei, who was wearing autumn pants, moving slowly. He took off his glasses excitedly. Long Wei. Rabbit said dissatisfiedly, don't worry about the star, let's rescue the doctor first. Big brother, what do you want? Just ask, it's not a good idea to waste time like this. In fact, Rabbit is very anxious now. After all, time is limited. If he delays here for too long, there is no guarantee that the police will not come. Li Qing stood up and adjusted his suit. You are making trouble in my territory? And you ask me what I want? The doctor, Rabbit, and Sang Biao were stunned at the same time. His territory? What does it mean? And the brains of several people did not turn around for a while. Boom! Then there was a roar from downstairs, accompanied by fierce gunfire. Rabbit and Sang Biao didn't have time to think about it, knowing that something might have happened downstairs. What's going on downstairs? Sang Biao asked in a deep voice holding the walkie-talkie. Brother Biao, I don't know where a team of people came out. Damn, the firepower is too strong, I can't stop it. The voice of the younger brother came from the walkie-talkie. When Li Qing heard it, he knew that it was his men coming down. Sang Biao, you stay here, I'll go down and take a look. Rabbit ran downstairs with a few people without saying a word. Sang Biao could only confront Li Qing and others with a gun. But his eyes were indeed fixed on Long Wei, making Crow think that Long Wei was the real boss. After about 5 minutes, Sang Biao finally couldn't help it and pointed his right hand in the direction of Long Wei. Hey, big star, do you want to fight? At this time, Long Wei was behind Gao Jin, and Sang Biao's question made Gao Jin look confused. Pointing at himself, me, the doctor glared at Sang Biao fiercely. What are you doing? Can you be serious looking for someone to compete at this time? Is it because you think you are not dying fast enough? Sang Biao didn't pay any attention to the doctor. In his eyes, the doctor was just a little smart, so he was made the leader, and his skills were terrible. It's not you, the kid behind you, Sang Biao pouted. I don't know why bodyguards now wear suits. Don't you know that it affects their agility? Long Wei continued to squat on the ground and acted like an ostrich. Hey, I'm calling you. Gao Jin stepped forward and kicked Long Wei with his toes. Long Wei raised his head with a smile. It's not me, I don't know him. Everyone looked at him with contempt. Is this what a kung fu star is like? Hey, go out and fight him, Li Qing said with a smile. Long Wei glanced at Li Qing, then at Sang Biao, and quickly shook his head. Boss, I don't know kung fu. It's okay, he doesn't know kung fu either. Long Wei had no choice but to force the issue and slowly walk towards Sang Biao. Sang Biao's eyes were burning. Every time he watched Long Wei's movies, his blood boiled, and he wished he could be the protagonist. So he had always used Long Wei as an imaginary enemy, and this time he could finally have a good fight with Long Wei. As for the life and death of the doctor, he didn't really care. Come on, put on this clothes. Sang Biao took out a yellow and black striped tights and threw it to Long Wei. It feels better to fight like this. Long Wei put on the tights helplessly, and now he just hoped that Li Ji would come quickly. Can you please not hit my face, I still have to film, Ouch! Long Wei was punched in the eye socket before he finished speaking. The whole fight between the two was Long Wei blocking and Sang Biao attacking. Many people were speechless when they saw Long Wei running around the hall like a monkey. Only Li Qing watched with relish, and even He Min doubted his taste. In fact, Li Qing was reliving the scene of watching a movie in his previous life. You know, that part was the funniest part of the whole play. He wanted to see if Long Wei would be as powerful as in the movies. The whole exhibition hall was filled with Long Wei's screams, and his face was bruised and swollen. Even the rich people squatting on the ground were watching the scene with interest, and kept pointing and gossiping. Just when everyone's attention was on Sang Biao and Long Wei, the doctor began to make small movements. He carefully took off the high top of his left leather shoe, which was a small bomb he carefully made. As long as he detonated the bomb and caused chaos, he would definitely be able to escape from this man. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 276. The doctor kept moving his hands and kept muttering in his heart. This robbery was planned. I don't know who came to disrupt all the arrangements. Looking around, it seems that everyone is more interested in the big star Long Wei who was beaten, and no one pays attention to him. A slight sound rang out, which scared him and made him shiver. He looked around nervously. Fortunately, no one heard it. But he guessed wrong. Li Qing next to him had extremely sensitive ears and heard his little movements. Huh? What are you doing? Li Qing squatted down with interest and looked at the doctor. The shoelaces are loose, I'll tie them. The doctor explained with a wandering look. Crow heard what his elder brother Li Qing said and hit the doctor on the head a few times. Tell me, what are you doing? Enough, the doctor shouted angrily. Before he did anything, this man pointed a gun at his waist, then at his head, and kicked his legs, and this time he hit his head again. Damn, as the leader of the gangsters, he also needs to save face. The roar of the doctor stopped the two people chasing. The other rich people squatting were also startled and looked at the doctor in surprise. Don't you want to see what? Okay, I'll show you. The doctor took out a small black box, pressed it and threw it to the crow. Look carefully. The crow took the black box disguised as a high-top leather shoe. It was a bit heavy in his hand, and the small red light in the middle was still flashing. What is this thing? The crow looked at it for a long time, but couldn't figure it out. Bomb, time bomb, Li Qing said after taking a look. When the crow heard it, his hands seemed to be burned, and he threw the bomb out, which happened to fall into the hands of Gao Jin next to him. Gao Jin looked at the crow speechlessly, and casually threw the bomb to the four-eyed frog who was watching the excitement not far away. The four-eyed frog threw the bomb directly on the ground and ran towards the crowd. Haha, only I can dismantle this kind of bomb. If you don't want to die here, let me go. Doctor laughed. What's up? Li Qing took out a cigarette, lit it and looked at the arrogant doctor. Hey, aren't you afraid? Who are you? Did someone tip you off? The doctor stood up angrily, straightened his clothes, and asked. He suspected that there must be a problem inside, otherwise there wouldn't be so many waves, and the last few operations were all smooth. Haha, you threaten me with a bomb? I can just take you as a hostage and walk out safely. Li Qing looked at the doctor and teased. The doctor couldn't control the emotions on his face at this time, and said angrily, What do you want, big boss? I heard that you are good at making bombs, are you interested in following me? Haha, I'm a doctor who has been in the world for decades, and someone wants to take me in as a younger brother? It's really amazing. Okay, forget it. Li Qing's words choked the doctor directly, and he couldn't finish his words. Crow was so angry that he kicked the doctor in the ass. What the hell are you doing? The doctor looked at Crow angrily, then looked at the gun in his hand. When you are under the eaves, you have to bow your head and bear it. At this time, the gunfire downstairs became more intense, and the change in the gunfire was obvious, and the AK burst sound was very crisp. "Brother, our people are here," Crow whispered in Li Qing's ear. Li Qing nodded. "Jin, bring the bomb over." Gao Jin picked up the bomb without saying a word and sent it to Li Qing. Li Qing took the heavy bomb, opened the cover in front of the bomb, and looked at the circuit inside carefully. "Huh? Aren't there only 2 blue and red lines? Why is this bomb so complicated?" Li Qing muttered softly and fumbled for the circuit inside. "In the previous life, I watched a movie, and the bombs in it only had 2 red and blue lines. The blasting expert would stop the bomb if he cut one line." "Hey, boss, don't mess around. This is not a movie. It will kill people," the doctor almost shouted out loud. The sound of beep scared everyone and the doctor almost had a heart attack. It turned out that the Indian computer expert cracked the security system, and the 3 prismatic covers of the Tsar's jewelry slowly opened. Bang, another sound. A short man rolled in, squatting and shooting at everyone. Looking at several people gathered in a circle, looking at him in surprise. Long Wei showed joy and shouted loudly, "Li Ji, save me." Li Ji frowned and looked at Long Wei, who was beaten and swollen, and then looked at the tall Sang Biao. Until Li Qing and others stood up, Li Ji saw his wife killing enemy doctor. "It's really you, doctor." "Haha, Li Ji, long time no see," the doctor pretended to be as powerful as always. Li Ji walked towards him with a gloomy face, and this time he would avenge his wife and children no matter what. Bomb. At this time, the door of the exhibition hall was pushed open again, and a group of big men holding axe rushed in and came directly to Li Qing. "Brother, are you okay? Brother, which bastard dared to kidnap you?" Li Qing took a look. "Oh, red hair, green hair, you two are leading the team this time." The people who came were red hair and green hair from Hejiang. After receiving the news, the 2 of them immediately gathered people and rushed over. They also met Li Ji when they attacked. "Send all the rich people out," Li Qing pointed at the rich people and said. The younger brothers quickly took action, and the rich people who knew Li Qing hurriedly thanked him. "Boss Li, I am Zhou Chang from Xiangjiang, thank you very much." "Boss Li, I am a jeweler in Myanmar, my name is Chi Li, but I will do whatever you ask." After saying that, he clasped his fists. "Boss Li, I am Chen Jiarun from Taiwan province, thank you." Not only the doctor, Sang Biao and others looked at Li Qing in surprise, but even Long Wei, Li Ji and others looked at him in shock. No one expected Li Qing to have such power. "You know, these are all rich people who are arrogant and each of them is worth a lot of money." "Who are you?" the doctor asked in a deep voice. "It doesn't matter who I am. What you need to think about now is how to stop this bomb." Li Qing pointed at the bomb and said. "By the way, Long Wei can't leave." Li Qing pointed at Long Wei who was limping towards the door. The younger brothers captured Long Wei again. "Boss, why did you keep me here? I'm useless." "You're here to testify, big star." Li Qing stood up and looked at the exhibition hall. Now only his own people, Long Wei, Li Ji, Sang Biao and the Indian computer expert were left. Li Qing muttered a few words in the crow's ear, and the crow nodded knowingly, and began to instruct the younger brothers to pack up the 3 treasures of the Tsar and several pieces of jewelry that had spread from China. "Sang Biao, you can leave now, and you can take the remaining jewelry at will." Li Qing pointed at the remaining jewelry and said. Sang Biao was not stupid, and knew that Li Qing was using him as a scapegoat. But he had to do it, otherwise he would not be able to leave the exhibition hall. He took out his gun and shot the Indian computer expert without hesitation. After all, the fewer people who knew about this kind of thing, the better. He began to sweep up the remaining jewelry and quickly started his escape. The doctor lowered his head and thought deeply. He regretted rejecting Li Qing's recruitment just now. "Hey, Li Ji, I will help you kill this man, and you will be my bodyguard," Li Qing said to Li Ji. Li Ji looked at the doctor and said nothing. His heart not is here with the doctor. He wants to know how to dismantle the bomb. "If you can force out the method of dismantling the bomb, I will be your bodyguard for a year," Li Ji said softly. "Okay, no problem. Crow kills him." Li Qing pointed at the doctor. "No, I agree, I will." The gun went off, and a bullet passed through the doctor's head. The doctor was still in fear before he died. He didn't know Li Qing's true identity until he died. "You." Li Ji looked at Li Qing in disbelief. He didn't understand why he killed the doctor when he hadn't even got the method of dismantling the bomb. "Knife." Li Qing stretched out his hand, and immediately a younger brother handed him a dagger. Li Qing began to feel the circuit inside the bomb, and actually touched a copper wire from under a line, and cut the copper wire with a dagger without hesitation. The indicator light on the bomb went out immediately. "Look, whoosh, righteous thief." Long Wei almost bit off his tongue. Is this simple? It's simple for those who know, but those who don't know will have to risk their lives. "Hey, Big Star, you saw what happened here yourself. It was the other side who robbed the jewelry. It has nothing to do with us. To be honest, you still have to give us a banner, after all, we saved your life." Crow put his arm around Long Wei's shoulders and said, "Yes, yes, yes. I can testify for you." Long Wei was not stupid. Now he understood Li Qing's intention to keep him, and quickly agreed. Anyway, it wasn't his jewelry, so it didn't matter. Instead, he walked out with Crow arm in arm. "Big brother, where should I send the banner to you?" "Macau New World." Long Wei almost stumbled and fell to the ground. He finally understood why so many rich people respected Li Qing so much. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 277. Everyone, listen to me. We were rescued this time mainly because of Mr. Li Qing. It was all thanks to Mr. Li Qing's bodyguards that we were safe and sound. The brutality of the gangsters exceeded our imagination. It's a pity that the fish that slipped through the net escaped with the jewelry. Look at the injuries on my face. Li Qing watched Long Wei's performance on TV and nodded with satisfaction. What he wants is justice, as long as everyone knows that he has not touched the jewelry. As for the insiders, the wealthy people he saved will not be troublesome. After all, everyone in the jewelry company has been killed by Rabbit and others. Crow, arrange for my little brother to send the Tsar's crown and the Queen's crown to Tian Yangsheng. He had contacted Tian Yangsheng yesterday and tried to let him use the 2 crowns of the Tsar to exchange them for a real arsenal. Especially for the AK-47 production line, we must build more lines. Not only because he wanted to expand the arms business, he also used it for his layout in Southeast Asia. Especially for security work in rubber plantations and other industries, under the name of New World Security Company, he dispersed his subordinates to various countries in Southeast Asia, so the supply of weapons was particularly important. Especially in the climate and environment of Southeast Asia, American equipment is indeed not as durable as Soviet equipment. Okay, brother. By the way, there is news from Xioma that they have figured out the ratio of color-changing ink. Crow said with a smile. He knew that his eldest brother had always been concerned about counterfeit bank notes, so he had been paying attention to that side. After all, Dongzhou is gone. As the caring little brother of his elder brother, he has to think ahead about everything. Alas, it's tiring. Crow glanced at Gao Jin, the straight-headed goose standing next to him, and raised his head proudly. If Dongzia wasn't there, he would be Nanboan. As for Li Ji who hasn't arrived yet, haha, it's even more impossible. Oh? Really? Li Qing also became interested and simply took Wu Wu and Gao Jin back to Xiangjiang to have a look. 2 hours later, Gao Jin was driving on the winding mountain road. As soon as he reached the mountainside, he saw Xiao Ma and Ruan's Hui standing in front of the cave waiting. Seeing Li Qing getting out of the car, he quickly stepped forward to greet him. "Brother, I'm lucky to have fulfilled my destiny and finally got it done," Xiao Ma said excitedly. Ruan's Hui stood aside with a smile and said nothing. In fact, he was very excited inside. After all, it was a super perfect dollar bill. The entire circle has never heard of anyone who can create a super perfect dollar bill. Okay, thank you for your hard work. Your hard work really paid off this time. The income from these goods will be increased by half a point for each of you. Xiaoma and Ruan's Hui thanked them excitedly. Don't think half a point is too little, it depends on who is doing it. According to the Painter channel, half a point really doesn't mean much. However, with the channels of the New World, as long as the counterfeit banknotes are of high quality, they can be spread rapidly in Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, South America, and other places in a short period of time. Li Qing and others walked into the money printing room. Ruan Wen was also there in work clothes. When he saw Li Qing coming in, he quickly handed him a super counterfeit banknote. Li Qing looked at the watermark against the light, and then at the color-changing ink. Anyway, someone of his level couldn't tell the difference from real dollars. He casually put the super counterfeit banknote into the banknote detector on the table, and it passed instantly. Perfect. Li Qing's eyes flashed with joy. This kind of counterfeit money could not be detected without special monitoring methods. This means that this kind of counterfeit money can be circulated all over the world, and can even be used in beautiful countries if you are careful. Okay, 5-1, small quantity shipped. The current circulation of the new version of US dollar bills in the United States is not large, and large shipments can easily attract attention. If anti-counterfeiting measures are upgraded again, everything done now will be in vain. Xiaoma and Ruan's Hui nodded. They also knew the key and it was safer to ship in small quantities now. Li Qing looked at the gravure printing machine that was printing counterfeit banknotes. How about it? Is the printing machine Tianyang Sheng got working? Ruan Wen glanced at Li Qing and said, well, the operation is a bit complicated, but the printing quality is very high and the error rate is extremely low. That's good. If you need anything, please contact Crow in time and he will make arrangements. After Li Qing finished speaking, he led Wu Wu and others out of the door. Ruan Wen looked at Li Qing's back blankly and felt a little disappointed. Li Qing didn't pay attention to her from the beginning to the end. Fortunately, she even put on light makeup today. Oh, don't think about it. You can't control this kind of man. Ruan's Hui obviously knows what his daughter is thinking, but he doesn't blame her either. If he were a woman, he would be deeply involved when meeting a man like Li Qing, let alone a daughter who doesn't have much emotional experience. It's okay for a man like Li Qing to lose his kidneys, but it's hard to lose his heart. After returning to the company and signing contracts for several projects, Li Qing returned to his villa in Xiangjiang. Chen Shooting has returned to Hejiang University. Xingxin will not come back from school at noon. Only Hong Kong students are left at home. No, there is also the female bodyguard Axu. You have nothing to do here, go back and rest. Li Qing said to Ashui with a smile. Ashui nodded respectfully and walked out. Why are you chasing people away? Can't you just have lunch? Hong Kong Shen glanced at Li Qing angrily and continued working in the kitchen. Although there is a cook, Li Qing still often cooks the food for herself. Okay, stop working, just take a few bites. But Hong Kong didn't listen and still cooked some of Li Qing's favorite dishes. Seeing the beads of sweat appearing on Hong Kong Sheng's head, Li Qing pulled her into his arms and said with a smile, "I told you not to do too much, but you didn't listen." Hong Kong Shen nuzzled into Li Qing's arms, "It's okay, it doesn't take much effort. I like to cook for you with my own hands." "Okay, close your eyes and I'll give you a gift." When Hong Kong Shen closed his eyes, Li Qing took out a diamond necklace, one of the 3 treasures of the Tsar, from his pocket and put it on Hong Kong Sheng. Hong Kong Sheng felt something cool and a little heavy on his neck. He opened his eyes and said, "Yeah." Li Qing chuckled, "Sure enough, women like shiny things just like dragons." Hong Kong lowered his head and stroked the huge blue diamond. "Will this cost a lot of money?" "No money spent." Hong Kong Sheng patted Li Qing and said, "Nonsense, there are no diamonds that cost nothing. Do you know the story between the Thai royal family and the Saudi royal family a few years ago? The Thai royal family hacked the Saudi royal family's big blue diamond, made a replica and sent it to others, and the Saudi royal family detected it after receiving it. But it refused to give life or death, which led Saudi Arabia to downgrade the relationship between the two countries to the level of agency." Li Qing almost dropped his jaw when he heard this, but this is the fact. Women have no ability to resist in front of sparkling diamonds. "Then before we eat, I'm going to eat you first." Li Qing hugged Hong Kong Sheng and walked upstairs while she screamed. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 278. In recent times, New World has followed international hot money in acquiring high-quality industries in Southeast Asian countries. Of course, compared with international hot money, New World's size is not large. At most, they were little sharks following them eating meat and soup. Everything is going very smoothly, and there are achievements in various countries in Southeast Asia, especially the Jongkyandan team in Java. Most of the rubber plantations in Java's Lion province were taken over by Jongkyandan, and the prices were pitifully low. According to the news brought by Jongkyandan, the situation of the Chinese in Java is very difficult and they are second-class citizens of Java. The factory in Thailand has also been established. It only needs a few production lines. As soon as the production lines arrive, production can start. Basically, the few brothers sent out have achieved something. Even Fang Zanbo received news that the latest Hang Seng index exceeded the 16,000-point mark. But Li Qing was not very happy when he heard the news. His intuition told him that a dark cloud was quietly beginning to gather. He had a premonition that after international hot money swept across Southeast Asia, it began to attack Hong Kong. He immediately called Fang Zanbo and said, "Zanbo, please check if anyone in the stock market is hoarding a large amount of Hang Seng Index constituent stocks." He had read reports about Old Man Suo in his previous life. If his approach to the Southeast Asian financial crisis was 1.0, then his approach to Hong Kong had been upgraded to 3.0. The first step in Mr. Suo's plan is to hoard a large amount of Hong Kong dollars in the foreign exchange market to prepare for future exchange rate shocks and avoid excessive costs when temporarily raising Hong Kong dollars in the future. This has been confirmed by Mr. Huo Dong, who also found some clues. The second step is to disperse and conceal a large number of Hang Seng Index component stocks, which makes the Hong Kong stock market continue to rise in a bull market state, triggering investors to enter the market one after another, allowing the Hang Seng Index to break through new highs. Now that the Hang Seng Index has exceeded 16,000 points, this is proved, so Li Qing firmly believes that it must be Old Man Suo who leads the international hot money to plunder the wealth of Southeast Asia and head towards the newly returned Hong Kong. "Wait a minute, Zhanbo, let's check the trends of the futures market." Li Qing bit his lip and continued. The third step he vaguely followed from the old man was to hoard a large number of short stock index futures contracts in futures, preparing to buy them back at a low price to close the position after the stock market downturn. Because futures leverage is very high, once the stock market falls sharply, Short orders lurking in the futures market can bring unimaginable returns. Suppress the foreign exchange market, sell short the stock market, and make profits in the futures market. These are the three famous tactics of Mr. Suo. These three tactics rely on each other and complement each other, coupled with making false claims in the East, attacking in the West, concealing Chen Kang, and building momentum in the media. This is the art of short selling by old man Suo. Fang Zanbo on the other end of the phone was stunned for a moment, but he agreed immediately and immediately sent someone to investigate the situation of the foreign exchange market, stock market, and futures market. After half a day of investigation, Fang Zanbo got more precise information and quickly called Li Cheng. "Brother, judging from the current situation, there must be people hoarding Hong Kong dollars, and the futures market has also found that there are capital hoarding short orders." Fang Zanbo was a professional after all, and he instantly realized that someone must have taken action against Xiangjiang Financial. But the worst news he received was that the other side had begun to sell off the Hong Kong dollars they had accumulated. "What did you say?" "Some capital sold $46.5 billion in the foreign exchange market." When Li Qing heard Fang Zanbo's report, he clicked his tongue in surprise. International hot money is really rich in capital. "Well, I suspect there will be continuous selling of Hong Kong dollars in the future, which will impact the Hong Kong dollar exchange rate," Fang Zanbo guessed. Li Qing was silent for a long time, continued to pay attention to the stock market and futures market. "We can only stand still now. It is not appropriate for them to take any action until the Hong Kong government issues corresponding policies." As Fang Zanbo expected, Hong Kong's exchange rate market was shaken, and the Hong Kong dollar began to depreciate in a short period of time. Immediately afterwards, international hot money sold another 31 billion Hong Kong dollars and 7.8 billion Hong Kong dollars respectively. The entire Hong Kong dollar devalued to its lowest point, and for a while people in Hong Kong began to exchange their Hong Kong dollars into hard currency US dollars. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority also responded quickly and charged punitive high interest rates to banks that repeatedly borrowed Hong Kong dollars from it through the liquidity mechanism. The overnight lending rate soared from 9% to 300%, making the Hong Kong dollar a rare commodity. This was the first confrontation between the Xiangjiang government and the international hot money represented by Old Man Suo, and Xiangjiang won the first battle. Li Qing and Fang Zanbo also analyzed the current situation of Xiangjiang. "Brother, the move of raising interest rates has indeed temporarily driven back international hot money, but its drawbacks have also appeared." Fang Zanbo frowned and said, as the most professional person, he knew that raising interest rates was just drinking poison to quench thirst. Raising interest rates will suppress normal borrowing demand and be detrimental to the development of the real economy. As he expected, there were now lines of people running in front of the major banks in Xiangjiang. "The other side won't give up like this," Li Qing said thoughtfully while smoking a cigarette. "Judging from the information known in the previous life, this time is just a test by Old Man Suo, and a greater crisis is yet to come." A few days later, Mr. Suo's Quantum Fund released a large amount of bad news about the Hong Kong stock market in advance, and panic affected the entire Hong Kong stock market. Investors sold their stocks one after another, and the Hang Seng Index fell sharply. Everyone thought that Mr. Su's next step was to short the stock market just like he did with Thailand and the Philippines. Even Li Qing and Fang Zanbo were no exception, staring nervously at the stock market. But Mr. Suo was indeed a genius. He directly turned his attention to Hong Kong stock futures and sold a large number of short orders in the futures market that he had previously purchased, making a large profit from it. With one move, Xiangjiang suffered heavy losses and a large amount of wealth was taken away. In this case, the international hot money represented by Old Man Suo won. After getting the results, Li Qing was also depressed for a while. Although he knew the general direction, he still couldn't prevent Xiangjiang's losses. Fang Zanbo looked at Li Qing and hesitated to speak. If you have anything to say, just say it, don't be coy. Li Qing took a puff of cigarette, looked at Fang Zanbo and said. Brother, old Mansuo is too powerful. We can't stop him. We might as well save the fire for Xiangjiang. Fang Zanbo said softly. Do you know what you are talking about? Do you want to enrich the country? Are you humming crazy? Li Qing scolded Fang Zanbo. No, I just want to preserve my strength for Xiangjiang, Fang Zanbo said aggrievedly. Li Qing was silent. He also felt a sense of powerlessness in his heart, and a feeling that he was unable to exert his strength. After all, if he entered rashly, he would attract attention. He didn't want to damage the image he had finally built up, so he could only wait until Xiangjiang Financial could no longer hold on and ask for help before he could enter the market openly. After all, his New World Financial Company is known as the Underground Bank of Xiangjiang. Sooner or later, these funds will be used in the financial defense battle in Xiangjiang. Zanbo, we are not businessmen. We cannot only focus on profit, and we should do something and not do something. You have read more books than me, so you should know this better than me. Fang Zanbo nodded. It's almost here, wait a minute. Li Qing sighed and looked at the gloomy sky outside the window. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 279. On August 5, the haze in the sky enveloped the entire Xiangjiang River, and light rain fell continuously. Under the leadership of Mr. Suo, international hot money struck again, instantly bursting the financial bubble in Hong Kong, and the entire Hang Seng Index began to decline. From the foreign exchange market, stock market, and futures market, they officially launched a three-dimensional attack on Hong Kong's finance, intending to end Hong Kong in one battle. At the same time, Mr. Suo also used newspapers to exaggerate the terrifying atmosphere that the RMB was about to depreciate significantly, which made people panic for a while. Even the RMB black market transactions in Shanghai, Eastern Guangdong, and other places once fell to the level of 9.5 RMB per US dollar. The Hong Kong stock market plummeted. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange is gloomy. Many people slumped on the ground in despair, looking at the red on the display screen. It's over, it's all over. My 20 years of savings. I'm getting married, why? Damn it. This is the money I borrowed, how can I pay it back? The entire stock market is filled with a sense of despair. The Hang Seng Index fell directly below the psychological mark of 7,000 points, then 6,800 points, 6,660 points. The wealth of countless Xiangjiang citizens was looted. Old Mansuo and others even clamored that Xiangjiang has become their cash machine. The tragic fate of Southeast Asian countries such as Thailand and the Philippines seems to be visible before our eyes. The only two options currently standing in front of the Hong Kong government are giving up the Hong Kong stock market or giving up the exchange rate. At this time, Mr. Suo began to attack the two major constituent stocks of the Hong Kong Hang Seng Index, HSBC Holdings and Hong Kong Telecommunications. The two stocks fell sharply, and the situation was precarious. Mongkok, Hong Kong, New World Headquarters. Mr. Huo is the first to come to the New World. It really makes me shine. Li Qing made tea for Huo Dong and said with a smile. Li Qing had already anticipated Huo Dong's arrival. If the stock market in Xiangjiang was not rescued, the coffin shop the day after tomorrow would probably be too busy. Little friend Li Qing, don't talk nonsense. Alas, now that the international hot money is coming, the financial situation in Xiangjiang is in danger. Huo Dong loosened the buttons of his shirt. The situation now made him a little breathless. After all, the other party is a well-known capital tycoon, and he is taking advantage of the victory and is full of momentum. This battle is indeed not easy to win. As far as he knows, the chief executive has gone to Kyoto to ask for help, but the current situation cannot save the fire from the distance. Recently, he began to organize businessmen to rescue the market, but very few responded, and most of them chose to protect themselves wisely. Li Qing was the last person he thought of. After all, Li Qing's capital was as much as any rich man in Hong Kong. Li Qing also became serious after hearing this. Mr. Huo, as long as Xiangjiang needs me and the country needs me, just speak up. If you only care about life and death for the benefit of the country, why should you avoid it because of misfortunes and blessings? No need to hesitate to go bankrupt. In fact, Li Qing had been prepared for it long ago and knew that except for Mr. Huo Dong, most of the rich people would just sit on the sidelines. When Huo Dong heard Li Qing's words and thought of what others had done, he felt moved and choked up when speaking. My little friend is righteous. Mr. Huo, compared with you, I'm still far behind. Huo Dong's contribution to the country is unparalleled. My dear friend, I have only one request. Before central funds arrive, we must keep Xiangjiang Telecom. Huo Dong shook Li Qing's hands vigorously. Sir, don't worry. If the new world is here, Xiangjiang Telecom will not fall. If Xiangjiang Telecom falls, it means the death of the new world. Li Qing promised with a serious look. Huo Dong nodded vigorously and sighed heavily. A great hero serves the country and the people. My friend, you can see things more clearly than some people. I shouldn't be called a chivalrous person. I'm just a reckless person. Serving the country is what I want. Li Qing smiled and waved his hand. After Huo Dong left, Li Qing immediately recruited Fang Ting, Fang Zanbo and other members of the financial team. Fang Ting, stop talking about Jean Bajua. We have been preparing for a long time and must be optimistic about Xiangjiang Telecom. From now on, we take whatever they throw away. Li Qing looked at everyone and said decisively. Everyone saw Li Qing's serious expression and knew that this battle would definitely be difficult, but as a native of Xiangjiang, they were all very excited to participate in the battle to save the city. The next day, as soon as the market opened, international speculators began to sell the 33 constituent stocks of the Hang Seng Index, especially the two largest constituent stocks of HSBC Holdings and Hong Kong Telecommunications. Mr. Li, the other party has sold 1 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom at a price of 20 yuan. Purchase. The other party sold 2 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom at a price of 30 yuan. Purchase. The other party sold 3 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom at a price of 40 yuan. Purchase. The other party has been testing the strength of the buyer of Xiangjiang Telecom and tentatively sold 6 million shares. Li Qing accepted the order. In fact, this is very irrational, because the other party's price will get higher and higher in the future, and Li Qing will lose more and more. But Li Qing had to buy it. He promised to stabilize the stock price of Xiangjiang Telecom and give Xiangjiang stock investors a shot in the arm. It's going up, Xiangjiang Telecom has turned green. Also HSBC Holdings has turned green. Come on, Xiangjiang Telecom, go up, go up, go up. All the investors on the stock exchange stared intently at the monitor, in the sea of red. There are two stocks that are going against the trend, Hong Kong Telecom and HSBC Holdings. Everyone's eyes are fixed on the numbers of the two stocks, which are pulled up and down. Every change in the numbers indicates a large amount of trading volume. These two stocks have obviously become the hope of Hong Kong and all stockholders. As long as these two stocks do not fall, Hong Kong will not lose. At this time, in the temporary command room of International Hot Money, old Mansuo questioned loudly, who is behind Hong Kong Telecom? He knew that some Hong Kong businessmen would definitely come out to rescue the market, and he also knew that Huodong was behind HSBC Holdings. With Huodong's strength, it is impossible to take over two stocks at the same time, so there must be forces behind Hong Kong Telecom that he doesn't know. Check, who is the company of New World Financial that acquired the stock? Old Man Suo said in a deep voice. Keep selling, I want to see how much he can take. The two stocks began to sell in large quantities again, but they were still steadily taken over. Until the market closed, the two stocks were still going against the trend. New World Headquarters, Li Qing's office. Mr. Li, today we have acquired a total of 20 million shares of Hong Kong Telecom, with a total investment of HK $1.1 billion, and the closing price has exceeded 80 yuan per share. The staff reported softly. Fang Zanbo frowned when he heard the number. Brother, if we want to maintain the upward trend tomorrow, it will cost more. Li Qing waved his hand. He knew what Fang Zanbo wanted to say, but he had to do it. Once Hong Kong Telecom turned red, it would be troublesome. Now Hong Kong Telecom and HSBC Holdings are a flag. As long as the two flags do not fall, the confidence of Hong Kong people will not fall. Go down and rest, tomorrow will be more difficult. Li Qing looked out the window with deep eyes. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 280. On the 20th, it was rainy and cloudy. In the early morning, when the Hong Kong stock market opened, a large number of stockholders rushed to the scene and breathed a sigh of relief when they saw the only two stocks showing green. Hong Kong has not lost yet, and the two stocks are still strong. It was also today that the Hong Kong government issued a policy requiring securities firms to prohibit lending stocks to international hot money, cutting off its roots. Because there are many securities firms that make money from national disasters, the Hong Kong government has no choice but to stop them. As soon as the market opened, Old Man Suo came aggressively and began to sell off the two stocks of HSBC Holdings and Hong Kong Telecom in large quantities. He vowed to take down the two stocks directly. He believed that as long as he took down these two stocks, Hong Kong would directly become a cash machine for himself and others. In that case, the day of sweeping Hong Kong's wealth is not far away. Mr. Li, the other party is selling 4 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom at 85 yuan. Mr. Li, the other party is selling 5 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom at 90 yuan. In a short period of time, international hot money sold 20 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom, and Li Qing bought them all. Xiangjiang Telecom was like a fish swimming upstream, rushing up and climbing steadily. Mr. Li, we can't eat it anymore, we don't have much liquidity, Fang Zanbo said anxiously. He felt that Xiangjiang Telecom was like a bottomless pit that would never be filled. New World Finance would be dragged down. You have to know that New World Finance was built by him, just like his child. Li Qing closed his eyes and leaned on the boss chair. Let the group transfer the working capital from other industries. No, Mr. Li. Once the capital chain is broken, the entire New World Group will be finished. The professional manager hired by Li Qing stopped him, with a tremor in his voice. He knew that Li Qing's approach was very dangerous. If it was not done well, not only a subsidiary, but the entire group would go bankrupt due to the broken capital chain. Do as I say, Li Qing said in a deep voice. Li Qing also knew the pros and cons, but it was already at this time, he could not retreat. Now the central funds have not arrived, and if he retreats, Hong Kong will be finished. After Old Man Suo takes over Hong Kong Telecom, he will instantly overwhelm HSBC Holdings. Li Qing looked at the sudden rain outside the window and murmured to himself, fight to the death, don't retreat. Compared with this, although HSBC Holdings is green, the rise speed is not so fast. Huodong looked at the rising Xiangjiang Telecom and kept sighing, my friend, you are so righteous. He knew that now basically all the firepower was focused on New World, and the other party vowed to defeat Xiangjiang Telecom. Those who have experienced the stock market know that the big crocodile behind Xiangjiang Telecom has to pay a huge price to achieve such a counterattack and rise. It is unimaginable to pay a huge amount of money. It can be said that this big crocodile has the determination to fight to the death. Stockbroker, buy Xiangjiang Telecom for me, an old stockholder said after thinking for a moment. Ah! One share has reached more than 90 yuan now. I can't buy it. There is no room for growth. The stockbroker opened his mouth in surprise. What money to make? Now it's to protect the market. We can't let the big crocodile behind it bear it alone. Hong Kong is the Hong Kong of Hong Kong people, and I have to contribute to Hong Kong. Although the money is not much, it is still a contribution to Hong Kong, at least it is conscientious. Buy me 100 shares of Xiangjiang Telecom. I'll buy 60 shares. Buy me 100 shares. The entire Xiangjiang Stock Exchange was filled with such voices, and even some shareholders who had lost a lot of money sold other stocks at low prices to buy Xiangjiang Telecom. For a time, like a stream flowing into a river, a considerable force supported the shaky Xiangjiang Telecom. International hot money, temporary command room. Why is Xiangjiang Telecom so difficult to deal with? He only had more than 100 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom under his control. According to the opponent's desperate battle, he would definitely not be able to take it today. Who is it? Who is behind Xiangjiang Telecom? Haven't you found out yet? Old Mansuo said dissatisfiedly. Sir, the assistant came hurriedly with a document with an ugly face. Old Mansuo glanced at him, took the material and read it carefully. After a while, he took off his glasses and pointed at the materials and said in disbelief, "You said that the Hong Kong Mafia is behind New World Finance." This matter surprised him. Mafia? Are they so patriotic? The Mafia in the United States is money-oriented and can do anything for money. Patriotism? Forget it. Sir, why don't I go meet him? After all, everyone likes money. They will only make more money if they are with us, the assistant whispered. Old Mansuo glanced at the assistant and shook his head. No, such people will not give in. You don't understand the culture of China. The Chinese attach great importance to courtesy, righteousness, integrity, and shame, which is unmatched by any country in the world. If this person was just for money, he would have joined us long ago. After saying this, Old Mansuo sighed. Although he did not understand the practices of these Chinese people, it did not prevent him from admiring these people. There was even a little envy in his heart, which he probably didn't even realize. Admiration is appreciation, but money still needs to be made. He doesn't think a gangster can have much assets. Looking at the various subsidiaries of New World Group, Old Mansuo estimated the funds that New World Group could mobilize in a short time. Then he asked someone to quickly calculate the funds that New World Financial spent to buy Hong Kong Telecom stocks. Old Mansuo smiled easily. If my guess is right, New World Financial should not have much money in hand. Even if some shareholders follow suit and buy, it is not enough to take over all the Hong Kong Telecom stocks in his hands. As he expected, after the stock market closed today, New World Financial began to calculate the data, and the situation was not very ideal. Brother, even if the cash flow of other subsidiaries of New World is added together, it will not last long after the market opens tomorrow. Fang Zanbo looked at the statistical table and said dully. Li Qing looked at the statistical table. Today's consumption is almost 4 times that of yesterday. If it continues like this, tomorrow will be difficult. He estimated that Old Mansuo still has at least tens of millions of shares in his hands, which he cannot eat with his current funds. Some people may say that New World has such a big stall, why is the cash flow only a few billion Hong Kong dollars? You know, the funds of some industries cannot be moved. Li Qing does not want to move the funds of the gambling industry. There are always people watching the gambling industry in Hejiang, and he is worried. The funds of Xiaorai and Wanbei cannot be moved either. They have just established a firm foothold. Once the capital chain is broken, all the previous efforts will be wasted. In addition, he went to Southeast Asia to buy at the bottom some time ago, and used some funds, so there is not much cash flow on hand now. The most important thing is that Li Qing did not expect that some Hong Kong tycoons would stand by and watch. If there were more tycoons to save the market, he and Huo Dong would not be so difficult.